confirming that ICE agents will be in airports. Writing on Truth Social on Monday, ICE will be going to airports to help our wonderful TSA agents who have stayed on the job despite the fact that the radical left Democrats, who are only focused on protecting hardline criminals who have entered our country illegally, are endangering the USA by holding back the money that was long ago agreed to with signed and sealed contracts and all.
The president's rhetoric is continuing to intensify on this war. His latest threat, an ultimatum on Iran. He says either reopen the Strait of Hormuz or face those powerful strikes on power plants, as we just heard Trey expand on. Now, the president posted this warning, threatening to obliterate Iran's power plants within 48 hours from this exact time point. Now, Trump posted that at 7:45 Eastern time last night, so the countdown continues to tick towards Monday night. Now, the Strait of Hormuz supplies roughly 1/5 of the world's crude oil, but has been largely limited since the conflict. Now, the president has called NATO allies cowards for not sending warships to help defend the strait. He claims because the U.S. doesn't use the strait, this should be a global effort.
Is the U.S. opening Hormuz by force or having others do it?
Well, I think it can be both. It's not necessarily mutually exclusive. I'm glad you're having NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on. I think at his urging and his leadership, we've now seen Italy, Germany, France, and a number of others commit to help with this effort. Particularly since so much energy is going to Europe out of the Straits. We just had the Japanese Prime Minister commit to portions of her Navy and the Japanese Navy. 80% of what's coming out of the Gulf is going to Asia. So we are seeing our allies come around, as they should. But at the same time, the president is not going to stand for this regime, as it's threatened and tried for 5 decades to hold the world's energy supplies hostage under its genocidal intent.
President's deadline.
So, welcome everybody this Sunday evening. Got a lot to cover. We may not be here for 3 hours, maybe 2, depending on how we go. But the Sunday shows were quite tame. They tried to catch the Trump administration in a couple different gotcha questions, but it didn't work. And all it did was amplify the notion at this point that the Democrats have nothing. There's nowhere to go. They are rooting against America. They are hoping that, things don't go well. They're actually out there trying to promote things not going well. But everything seems to be going well, except for the certain pricing of oil, which I think in the next, like I said, by Wednesday or so we should see a break in that, because here we are, 24 hours after President Trump issued the ultimatum. Actually, 24 hours would be an hour from now. And he said 48 hours from this exact time, which would be tomorrow, Monday, that's it. All bets are off. You're going to get bombed into oblivion. But now Iran has decided they want to break bad, and they're telling everybody what they're going to do.
For that ultimatum to Iran about the Strait of Hormuz. To get into that Truth Social post, the president wrote, if Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. That was last night. Today, Iran's Speaker of Parliament responded immediately after that happens. The critical infrastructure, energy infrastructure, and oil facilities through the region will be considered legitimate targets and destroyed.
All right, so this guy decides he's going to come out after President Trump issued the ultimatum, and he doesn't say we're going to go after America. He would if he could, but instead, this guy who's in a bunker someplace says we're going to go and bomb everything else. All these other nations who really, haven't anything to do with this as of yet, we're just going to start bombing all these other people. And he also says he's going to destroy the desalinization, meaning people won't have drinking water, could be dead within 10 days.
Destroyed in an irreversible manner. An Iranian military spokesman said private sector targets are fair game, as well as oil and energy infrastructure.
All power plants, as well as the energy and information and communications technology infrastructure of the Zionist regime, will be extensively targeted. all similar companies in the region that have American shareholders will be completely destroyed.
And the media put this out there, and I would just like some people to ask these guys, if it's not AI, what are you going to do it with? What is it, the weaponry that you have? The minute you expose the silo, boom, they're going to drop in bunker bombers. So I don't know what Iran has, where they have it. I'm not clued into this information, but President Trump, Pete Hegseth, and that command, General Kane, obviously know what's getting ready to happen. I'm pretty sure Netanyahu knows what's getting ready to happen. Do you think they're going to wait? Because what Iran said, if this happens, then we'll do this. Well, if this happens, if President Trump goes forward with what he's saying he's going to go forward with, doesn't sound like you're going to have anything to, strike back with. It sounds to me like he's put you in checkmate, just like he's put the Democrats in checkmate, and says, okay, what are you going to do at this point? And now the rest of, not the rest of the world, but a lot of the world, 25 different countries, are going to support the Strait of Hormuz. So what are you going to do?
2 Iranian missiles got through Israeli air defenses, and they hit the towns of Dimona and Arad in South Israel, very near the Negev nuclear research facility. The IAEA says there's no danger of radiation leaking. They were 1,000-pound warheads. They injured more than 100 people. Iran said the missiles were in retaliation for strikes at their Natanz nuclear enrichment facility.
All right, so Netanyahu is going to strike back very hard. It's just a matter of time before, this stuff gets heavy. I believe it's somewhere probably, I don't know what time it is over there right now, but if it's overnight hours, we may hear something on the news late tonight or tomorrow, because Israel's not going to let this just go by. You bomb something, you got people hurt, they're gonna take revenge on you.
Strikes were carried out by the U.S., not Israel. Meantime, President Trump spoke with Israel's Channel 13. He said that we will find out soon what will happen in the likely event that Iran does not meet his deadline or answer his ultimatum. He says Iran has been acting bad for 47 years. They're about to get their comeuppance. Tommy?
Man, if I was Iran, I would not call this guy's bluff. He gave you 48 hours. He said this is going to happen. And so you're going to call his bluff. And I'm wondering if anything's going to happen at the 48-hour mark. I'm thinking it's going to happen, I don't know, about the 52-hour mark. Going to give him a little leeway. Maybe you were late to dinner or something. You forgot to do what you're supposed to do. But I don't see it going much past 56 hours before things start blowing up over there.
What I know is that we always come together. It was under President Trump's leadership that we had the extremely successful summit in The Hague, where we agreed to spend 5% of our GDPs on defense, and therefore equalizing for the first time since Eisenhower, yes. So this is quite some time back in history, equalizing what the Europeans are spending and what the Americans are spending. Not only because it is fair that we all spend the same, and this was a wish from Trump 45, and now it's Trump 47. He got this done, but also because we need it, because of the Russian.
In case you guys don't know, this is Mark Rutte, R-U-T-T-E. He's the head of NATO, as you can see in his background. And he's saying, I'm all in behind Trump, even though Margaret Brennan is doing everything she possibly can for him not to be all in. He's all in. All in.
Threaten our other adversaries. Then on Ukraine, it is again the US providing critical intelligence support and a weapons flow, working together with the Europeans to secure Ukraine's fight against the Russians, making sure they have what they need. And now with Iran, I'm absolutely convinced. And I understand the president's frustration that it takes some time. But again, I also ask for some understanding, because nations had to prepare for this, not knowing, and for good reasons, about the initial attack on Iran. But now coming together to make sure that we can be able to secure the Strait of Hormuz.
And you could hear her biting, trying to get a word in because she wanted to challenge him. She can't believe that they're coming together with the United States. This is a liberal's worst nightmare. The very fact that President Trump is putting this coalition together, even at this late date, is monumentous and shows everything that these guys can't defend. And I said it before, actually a couple different times, in terms of flooding the zone. He has spread the Democrats out so thin, they don't have the ability to respond to everything he's doing. And so they're not being able to effectively respond to anything. They're just out there pissing in the wind. And so now we are in the final countdown. Last night, you know, it's funny. Last night I played Sandman by Metallica. And I saw some people were into it and some people aren't into it. Let me just tell you real quick before we go further on the musical selections. I'm 65. I make no bones about it. I tell you every time I do a chapter spot, I'm 65. I figure, looking at my YouTube analytics, that most of us are in that same age group, between like 54 and 65 or a little bit older. And I've also said many times, I go back to Robert Plant in The Song Remains the Same when they were doing the live version of Stairway to Heaven. And in that song, he says, "Does everybody remember laughter?" And I bring that up because some of the times when I see some of the comments, "What the heck is this? You know, this is crazy, Barry." I'm not too old to remember laughter. I'm not too old to remember fun. I grew up on the music I play. I grew up going to clubs, going to concerts, promoting concerts, managing bands. I grew up on that. It's fun to me. Doesn't mean I'm less of a Christian. Doesn't mean anything other than, you know what? I think this song actually fits in with what we're doing right now as a country and what we're seeing. And sometimes you have to take a step back. Sometimes you just have to take a step back and say, you know what? Can we just get back to laughter? Can we just get back to having fun? Can you look around and say, you know what? I remember when me and Shirley or me and Fred, and we did this and we did that, and we had some fun. You know, I still remember my very first concert in high school. I went to see an unbelievable bill. It was Boston, 38 Special, and Rick Derringer. And that was the first concert I ever went to. The second concert I ever went to was Fleetwood Mac. And it was amazing because I got to see these bands for the first time. Mom and Dad let me go. And it was amazing. And I fell in love with music. And one of my best friends spent the entire night of the first concert in a bathroom throwing up. We just left him there and went and had fun. Those are called memories. And I think with everything that's going on, with everything that's so serious in the world, with everything that's so just berating us right now, as we are in MAGA, I feel compelled, like Midas does, to make you guys feel a little bit more relaxed, to have a little bit of fun, to realize we're not that old. I don't ever want to be that old. I don't ever want to feel like you can't laugh or you can't cry. Robin and I went to see a movie this afternoon, and that movie was the Hail Mary, Project Hail Mary with Ryan Gosling. It was good. It was very, very good. And I'm not going to give you a spoiler alert because you'd have to go see it yourself, but I could not believe how we searched for movies and we're like, oh, let's go see this. And we saw the trailer. It was about aliens and space travel, and we got what we paid for. It was very, very good. So I would recommend you guys go see that. In addition, they were showing a movie that's coming up in May. And I was like, this is different. There's a blonde, white man, muscular, good looking, athletic looking, in the title role of this film that's coming up. And Robin and I, boy, what, is there something wrong here? Did they put on the wrong trailer? And I realized, no, it wasn't a wrong trailer. It was for Masters of the Universe. And this guy was He-Man. And the ladies, you're going to love it. The guy was stacked. He was pretty, and they even made fun of DEI in the opening credits of the trailer. Because he's got a nameplate, and under it says he, him. He throws it off his desk. And I thought to myself, the world is tipping. Things are changing. We just got to let it go. Hang on. Don't take things so seriously. Yeah, but Barry, you can afford to pay more in gas, and you can do that and everything else. It wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter when I see that there's people dying for our country, dying for our way of life. I have to sit back and go, I got it good. I don't have anything to worry about. These people are over there trying to do what they can to save America. The president and some of the people in our government are doing what they can to try and save America. Some people are on the front lines, and they're on the front lines that actually can cause them death. They're not on X doing this. They're actually out there trying to keep you safe and keeping the American way of life alive. So in saluting them, I think it's almost disrespectful to not enjoy ourselves when we can here. I love life. My grandkids and my daughter are coming down for spring break next weekend. I don't know how many shows I'll end up doing. We're scheduled to close on our investment property next week. Life is great. And life is great based upon what you make of it. And I just thought, after seeing some of the comments last night, and there were people actually somewhat upset that I was playing a Metallica song, and I can't believe Lars, the drummer, and what they... Woosah. Think of the music, not the person. I'm not going to buy any Bruce Springsteen tickets. You won't see me play any Springsteen music here. Not for people who hate us. But just try to take a little bit of a deep breath every once in a while, because there's people who are in worse situations than you are, and they are openly, like President Trump talked to the guys from Navy football, who are willing to put their lives on the line for everything that we enjoy. So yeah, if gas prices are a little bit higher and you can't afford it, stay home. If grocery prices are a little bit higher, buy some cheaper stuff. And as you do it, keep a smile on your face and you know what? As an American, if my sacrifice for a better country, a better world, is I got to pay a couple extra cents in gas, I got to pay a couple extra cents for some eggs so that we can have a better life, we, the entire country, including Democrats, enjoy it. Pay it with a smile. SVU was in here yesterday. He's here again today. And he's like, man, you're just growing trolls. They're coming out of the woodwork. That should tell you something. They don't want us to enjoy the American way of life. They don't want us to smile and have fun. They don't want us to be watching March Madness and seeing some of the games that are going on. They don't want that. They want you miserable. You give in, they win. You get upset because of music, they win. You get upset because, oh man, the gas is up 12, 14 cents. They win. I'm sorry. I am always going to make sure that I do every single thing I can possibly can without any shame to make sure I'm on the winning side, just like he said.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning, and you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
You ever see something in the store and think to yourself, I got to have that. That's exactly for me. That's the kind of product I could see myself in. Well, if you're a MAGA Trump supporter, this is something you are going to want to take a look at. Check out the Trump MAGA sneakers. These sneakers are beautiful. They're awesome. Red, white, and blue. Got the accents. Red on the heel. Beautiful. Beautiful sneakers. If you guys have ever wanted to make a statement, if you're ever out in the club, if you're ever just shopping, maybe at the golf course, well, they're not really golf sneakers, but you could still wear them playing golf. I would tell you to jump all over this. These sneakers are awesome. Every time I've worn them, whether it's down to a Dolphins football game, whether it's going into a restaurant, it always catches eyes. People always say, "What are those?" And I tell them very simply, they are the Trump Gold sneakers. Now, I know some of you guys might feel this is a little bit audacious, a little bit bold, but why not be bold right now? Trust me, these aren't just shoes. These are a fashion statement. They are conversation starters. The gold shine, the red, white, and blue accents. You're literally wearing your American pride on your feet. And let me tell you, nothing shuts down a woke lecture faster than walking in with these bad boys on your feet. But here's the thing, they don't just look good. They feel good. They're comfortable. They're durable. They're lightweight. These aren't the kind of sneakers you're going to leave in the box. They're not going to sit in the back of your closet. So toss your dusty, old, worn-out shoes aside. You've been wearing holes in them. This shoe, people are going to take notice of. You're going to want to have these. The best part, the message that it sends, never surrender. Every time you put these on, it's a reminder that you stand for the flag, that you stand for the blue. Don't back down. You keep fighting for everything that you believe in. They also make a perfect gift. Everybody knows that's somebody who's a Trump supporter who's looking for something that they can wear with pride. They'll flip out when they unwrap these bad boys. So go ahead and get yourself a pair of these Trump Gold Never Surrender sneakers. Head to themagaoffers.com/Barry. And if you go to themagaoffers.com/Barry, you can use that link for up to 15% off of your entire order today. You got to get some. Go get some Trump MAGA sneakers and start stepping. Your fans, your friends, your coworkers, some of them might not like it, but who the hell cares? Go there today. Now, I didn't know when I was going to be working with these guys. I'm trying to find out some information because Donald Trump, as you can see, I wanted to show you the very top is Donald Trump posted this himself. And it says, rare Trump sneakers. SP and I both saw this like at the same time. Rare Trump sneakers are listed for $188,000 at SneakerCon in Riyadh. That's over in Saudi Arabia. I'm going to tell you, commercial aside, I'm going to have to contact somebody over there to see if they want to pony up $180,000. I don't even care. I'll do it for $18,000. I'll do it for $8,000. Somebody over there in Riyadh, you want some Trump sneakers? I can hook you up. Let's get on with the show.
One man is being victimized by our own government. One man whom they fear, yet whom millions love. One man who is willing to take the poison arrows of lawfare. One man whose voice has been taken away by a corrupt judge operating in a corrupt system. One man who has been ridiculed and insulted. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who refused to back down. One man who stands between us and them. One man that wants to see America protected again. One man who wants to see America prosper again. One man who understands that a man is a man and a woman is a woman. One man who understands and protects the blessing of life. One man who wants to restore American exceptionalism. One man who once again wants to make America that shining city on a hill for all to see. A place where all the people of the world glowingly set their eyes upon. America. One man who unashamedly wants to make America great again. That one man is Donald Trump.
This is Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
All right, so before we get going, let's check in with SV. SV's growing his own little fan base here, so I'm gonna let him come on and tell us what you got, SV.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Good.
I have a couple things. The first thing I notice is your poll. It's interesting. 1% are terrified. Oh my gosh, the trolls are terrified. Interesting. Don't worry, trolls. Come on out. I'll ban you. Come on out. I'll play with you. I always play with my troll food.
That definitely has to be a troll.
Absolutely.
Maybe we should get MAGA teddy bears that they can clutch. We can send them little MAGA teddy bears to help them with their terrifying mindset. Idiots.
They need some kind of support. And I don't know what, like, I have some ideas, but I'd probably be kicked out of here. Let's see what I got. The one story I found here was just in, Democrat Senator Richard the Mummy Blumenthal is facing mass calls to resign after he accused the ICE agents of planning to shoot and unalive American families as they travel. Can you believe that? He posted.
Who's that? Was that Richard Blumenthal?
Yes, sir.
Out of Connecticut. That's the stolen valor guy. What an idiot. What? See what that says? They really have nothing. I mean, it literally means they're just throwing stuff up against the wall and hoping it sticks. Yeah, that's
exactly.
There's they have nothing positive.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you what, in the next couple of weeks and months, I have a feeling that the fraud in California is going to be, okay, let me get to it. Nick Shirley, about 20 minutes ago, posted, he goes, this is why California's fraud is so massive. Just look at their Medi-Cal budget versus the Medi-Cal enrollment and population. In 2022, the budget was $108 billion, and this year it will be $222 billion. For what? Their population and enrollment hasn't increased, has not increased exponentially, but their spending has more than doubled. Prime example of fraud, waste, and abuse of taxpayer dollars. Tip of the iceberg. Crazy.
That is absolutely nuts, and it is a tip of the iceberg. And you have to wonder, how is this guy even being considered as a top candidate for the Democrat Party? I mean, the absurdity of it all. I don't know if you've even seen this story, or if anybody else has seen it, but you had all these code pink commies. Right. Go down to Cuba last night and today, staying in a 5-star resort that has its own generator and power, and they're trying to convince the people in Cuba to hold the line. You're doing okay. Meanwhile, the entire island, a whole country, has no power.
Make it make sense, Barry. It never will, ever. It's
crazy. So entitled.
Anyway. That's what I have for now. I'm sure I'll have some more crazy stories to show up in a few minutes.
Let's go.
It's not politically great for them.
Yeah, exactly. Because the Democrats' chief demands, there's several of them, but really the big sticking points are whether they require ICE agents to take off masks and also judicial warrants.
Okay, so this is what the Democrats want. They want judicial warrants before entering private property. So if you know or you understand that there may be an illegal in that house over there, you can't go get that person unless some judge signs a warrant. That's what they want. Again, I keep telling you, you're seeing it in full view. All they're trying to do is slow everything down. Second one, no masks on federal agents. So if there's no mask on the federal agent, what do you think is going to happen within, 24 hours of somebody getting pinched? They're going to dox him and go to his house and throw eggs and everything else, or her. And roving patrols. Can you imagine telling the police in your city, you're not allowed to patrol the neighborhood. When we sit here and we're even in a gated community, all the police officers have a buzzer that allows them to come into your community. And they just come by and they'll drive slow, make sure everything's okay. It makes everybody in the community feel safe. Not terrified. They don't freak out because there's a roving patrol. We understand that's part of their job. And use of force standards. I got a use of force standard. Don't resist. There's your use of force standard. Don't drive a car at me. Don't spit at me. Don't throw something at me. There's your use of force standard. The use of force standard should be told to the idiots, not to the police. I mean, I've seen police arrest people and take people in cuffs and everything else, and I never seem to see there be a problem unless the person's like, you can't touch me. Yeah, actually, I can. You can't. Yeah, actually, I can. When we grew up, I talked to you about music earlier. When we grew up, we understood. Yes, sir. No, sir. I can't. Your teacher, your family, your elders, your coaches, and of course the police. Yes, sir. No, sir. And we didn't end up getting maced or tased. Even if we did some crazy stuff in college, you didn't get tased or maced because the cop showed up. You're like, oh boy, what do we do now? Why did you do that? But now they want use of force. And I was a big guy. I could have taken just about every single cop that ever tried to come into our fraternity house. It was likely if we were those kind of people, that guy or woman would never make it out of the fraternity house. But then again, I'd be sitting in jail probably if I did something stupid like that.
For engaging in a enforcement action on private property, they want that written into the legislation. But I wonder, Margaret, you think, the longer we are removed from those terrible shootings in Minneapolis, does the public associate the fight over ICE with waiting in airport lines for 2 hours?
I mean, that has been...
All right, so the question to this woman is, as we do all this stuff and we're a couple months removed from that one woman getting shot in the face because she tried to run over an ICE officer, are people associating that with ICE at the airport? So let me just answer that first. No. Why not? Because we didn't try to drive a car over an ICE officer. So I can't associate what she did with anything else happening. I didn't bring a gun to a protest or try to kick a car, so I don't associate that. Americans are smarter than that. But the ones that follow CNN, nope, they don't know that.
And Republicans bet up until now, right, is that it's a law of diminishing returns for Democrats, that this may have worked for Democrats for a few weeks, but over time people will just get mad at Democrats if they have waits in line. I think.
Now, here's another thing. When you start seeing the media, hey, listen, you think this is going to bode well for Democrats? When you start seeing the discussion morph into, well, it doesn't benefit anybody, then you know they're in big trouble. Because it would be very easy to say, yeah, the Republicans did it. They're the ones, but they're seeing the poll. This is CNN. They're seeing their own polls. People don't like this. People are for ID. Yeah, so it's both sides. But you're going to love the gem she spits out here.
Reality is flyers are going to get mad at everyone in government because this is insane, and Congress is not supposed to stand in the way of convenient airport security, which people use for business and transit and all of that. But there are some real questions, in addition to whether it's actually appropriate for ICE to be doing this.
I didn't know we had a question with it being here's come the dog. I didn't know whether we had a question on whether or not is a quote appropriate. I didn't know that we had an appropriate question in regards to people enforcing laws. Is it appropriate that, they should be standing in an airport making sure everything is safe? You're actually asking that question. Is it appropriate that a law enforcement officer, weapons on, mask on, is appropriate to make sure everybody else in the airport is safe? Is it appropriate? You have to ask that question. You have to ask whether or not people feel it's appropriate for a armed law enforcement officer to be ensuring their safety? What world do these people live in?
First thing I thought was, well, everyone at an airport has documentation. Like, so what is the role of ICE here, right?
No. I love it when people talk like that. They're trying to get affirmation. It's a technique when people don't feel confident about what they're saying, so they say right. You get it, right? You understand what? And the whole idea, like with salesmanship, is to get people nodding along, because then they'll keep the pattern up. Because I don't even believe the BS I'm saying out of my mouth, right? But I'm hoping you're right. No, you're not right. Everyone you hope in line has the right documentation. But the other thing is, and you have probably stood in line, you may have been stopped yourself. You're like, why am I getting stopped and patted down and everything? Well, because something flagged in the computer or whatever, and so they're looking. So not every single person has the right documentation. You're letting these 10 or 12 buck an hour people decide whether or not you should get a boarding pass. I think everybody should be given Clear. If you haven't seen that in an airport, but Clear is where you put your eyes, and it checks everything in your background. And it's, it costs like $150 a year, but I understand everybody can't afford that. But if they just made it free, then there would be no TSA check.
And also, are ICE going to wear masks and no name tags at the TSA lines, or are they going to be like unmasked and wearing like a badge that says Taylor or whatever their last name is, right? So, but right now, there are millions, tens of millions of Americans who are not just have negative impressions of ICE, but who are scared of being in proximity to ICE agents. And when you...
Tens of millions of Americans are afraid of being in proximity to ICE agents. Just came out of her mouth on a national news network. Tens of millions of people, which is why I put the poll up here, because in order for tens of millions of people, the percentage would have to be quite higher. Who is afraid of seeing ICE at an airport? I went to the airport, a couple of weeks ago, whenever I flew, and there's bomb-sniffing dogs. Wasn't afraid. I go to the Miami Dolphins football game. You go in, another sniff dog is there, along with armed guys. Still with 70,000 people in the stadium, and the Dolphins sucked. Who are these people? That's why I put up the poll. Who are these tens of millions of people? Because I'm not going to say Americans. These tens of millions of people who are afraid of being in proximity to an ICE agent. Complete, utter garbage. She's making it up. Nobody I know is afraid of any law enforcement officer. Not afraid of a fireman. Not afraid of a bomb-sniffing dog. In fact, doesn't it make you feel comfortable when you show up to a sporting event, a concert, someplace, and the dog is sniffing around people, making sure everybody coming through the turnstiles is checked? Instead of being afraid, that makes me feel actually a lot more comfortable, because the guys doing the pat downs and, the $5 an hour guys that they got there in the orange shirts and everything else and checking through your bag, they don't even know what they're looking at. That dog is more trained than the people that you run into at the turnstile. That dog will sit there and go, hey, you need to check Barry out. He's got something. Look at him. So why would I be afraid? That tells me I'm safer. When I see cops at every gate, it makes me feel safer. Even the guys checking the pocketbooks to make sure nothing's brought in, if they do see something they don't know, they call an officer over. Hey, I don't know what this is. It makes you feel, no, I don't see anybody afraid and terrified. If you've ever if you've ever traveled internationally, I've said this before. When I went to Italy, I was shocked when you get off the plane and there's guys with semi-machine guns sitting there. And then you go into the tube or whatever it's called, the subway, and there's guys with submachine guns there. Was I afraid? just the opposite. I was like, honey, this is nice. I know we are safe riding this thing at any hour of the night. We want to go to the Vatican. We want to go over here for dinner. We need to do whatever we need to do. We can get in here. One, it's clean. Two, it's well lit. Three, you see any bums? None. The only thing I see walking around is guys with submachine guns. Anybody ever feel terrified and afraid to be in proximity of safety? Because that's what she's saying. There's tens of millions of people who are terrified of being safe.
Take ICE agents off of immigration programs and put them into managing security lines. I think that's, again, a big, it's a big thing to ask Americans just to absorb. So I don't really know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It will certainly take people out of position from their traditional ICE roles and move them into a different role.
I want you to listen to the Democratic divide, because there is a Democratic divide.
So now they're worried about people moving away from neighborhood searches because they're searching at the airport. Wasn't their entire argument before is to get ICE off the street? And so now, hey, pretty much obliged, we're going to move people off of certain corners and we're going to put them in the airport. Makes you happy, doesn't it? Oh, no. That doesn't work either, huh? What do you want? Well, we don't want you checking anybody. We don't want to even look at you. We don't want to be in proximity to you. And then if something happens, then you definitely want them in proximity.
About how far to go.
Well, I agree with you that Congress is broken, but here's the fact of the matter. I have a lot of questions about what he said. Are they going to be wearing masks? What are the functions that they're going to be performing? Are they going to make it more complicated? Are people going to be more scared? Are they going to threaten people?
More scared. The fear that she says she's worried about is only happening because the Democrats are trying to tell people, you need to be afraid. Oh, people might have masks on. I'm pretty sure like a couple years ago, we all had masks on. I wasn't afraid of people then. Now, all of a sudden, because they're law enforcement with masks, we should be worried. They're grasping. Literally grasping at nothing. Nothing whatsoever. It doesn't even make any sense. None.
Well, are people going to start to see people not even willing to travel because they're intimidated by them?
I think every single one of us would like, that's a good thing. That is a good thing. If people are unwilling to travel because ICE is at the airport, mission effing accomplished. You want to see the lines go down? You wait until, like I say, Tuesday or Wednesday. If people are intimidated and afraid to travel because of ICE, those are the people who shouldn't be traveling anyway. That is a huge win. I think we all, hey, there's nobody in here. I'm good. I'm good with that. I am really good with that. Then we'll see true wait times. Then we'll see truly how the airport is running. If people are going to pull out and not travel, no, nobody's going to not travel because ICE is in the airport, except the ones who might get caught by ICE.
Here's the reality. We could settle this tomorrow and fund TSA, FEMA, which, by the way, got gutted a year ago, not in this funding of Homeland Security by DOJ, and fund the Coast Guard and deal with the ICE issue, which has to be dealt with front and center.
You guys all know at this point, they've tried to pull ICE out of everything. DHS is the auspices. That is the agency that gets funded. Though they're saying, hey, we'll fund some of this stuff, but we're going to take ICE off the table. And at this point, ICE is already funded. And now they're going back and go, okay, let's go ahead and fund TSA. Let's defund ICE. And I'm like, no, that ain't happening. In other words, you have nothing to negotiate with, and President Trump has called your bluff. Now, with ICE moving into the airports, this thing may go on for quite some time. You watch what happens over the next couple days. If the wait times diminish, if you don't see lines snaking out the door, something's going to give. And I think it's going to have to be the Democrats, for sure.
So let me ask you about that, because you are the whole reason, as you just laid out, that DHS is not funded right now is because you're trying to push the administration to enact some policy changes on how Border Patrol and ICE act when they're out looking for illegal immigrants. And now what you're saying is that you're okay with funding TSA, which has been, I think, the biggest point of leverage that you possibly had in order to get what you want on ICE, because ICE already has its money. So what was the point of this shutdown if you're okay with funding TSA?
So you've lost the plot if CNN's like, what the hell are you people doing? What a question. If you completely lost the plot, if ICE still has their money, and this was all about TSA, and now you're going to fund TSA, what exactly is it the point of what you did? And if she's putting this on CNN, because some of you guys are like, why are you showing CNN? Because at this point, CNN can't cover for them anymore. And you know, some people have, I guess, personal integrity. They're like, what the hell are you guys doing? Doesn't make any sense. You did this huge uproar for 40 days, and now you're just about to be capitulate to where it was before you started this mess.
Well, we never approach these things that are in front of us with respect to government funding in the context of leverage. Our approach is, what is the appropriate use of taxpayer dollars? And we believe that taxpayer dollars should be used to make life more affordable for the American people, not brutalize.
You're kidding, right? If I don't know if Dana Bash was in the same studio with him, but I would have like moved over before the lightning came. You guys are worried about taxpayer dollars. You actually just said that. Oh, it's not about that. It's about taxpayer. I'm like, oh my gosh. No wonder you guys are losing so badly. It's incredible. They got nothing.
Kill them or violently target law-abiding immigrant families, which is what we know ICE agents have been doing. And so at this point in time, more than 30 days in to the Trump Republican Department of Homeland Security shutdown, I think the most appropriate course of action is to fund TSA, fund FEMA, fund the Coast Guard, fund our cybersecurity professionals so that, you know, Republicans stop holding the American people hostage and these hardworking civil servants because of the Republican unwillingness, at least to date, to get ICE under control.
Who thinks ICE is not under control? What exactly does get ICE under control mean? They're not dogs. What exactly is it when you say get ICE under control? What you actually mean is you want ICE not to be checking anybody. We already saw their demands. Their demands are almost as ludicrous as Iran's demands. They're non-starters. They're not going anywhere. Do you know what the job of an ICE agent is? Immigration, customs enforcement. Then what is it you want to do to, quote, rein them in, control them? You want to make sure that these people don't take away your voters. Be honest.
And we believe that immigration enforcement in this country should be fair, just, and humane. And Donald Trump promised that he was going to go after the worst of the worst, violent felons who are here illegally. That's not what has been happening.
Yeah, that has been happening, but there's a little word called expansion. You see, if I go after Pedro, and Pedro is a mother groper, and I also, when I go to look at Pedro, and I say, knock on the door and say, where's the mother groper? And I see a whole bunch of other people there. Well, I'm here. You got ID? Round them all up. Let's go, boys. So that's called a predicate. The word he just, or the term that he didn't use, but what he's explaining is he's not understanding the predicate. If I pull somebody over who's speeding, and I happen to find out that, you're also not supposed to be here. Am I supposed to let you go? Like, hey, listen, I'm sorry, you haven't groped any women. you can go on your way. It's not how it works. It doesn't work like that for you. It doesn't work like that for me. If any of us robbed a bank and our tail light was out and they're like, hey, listen, I got an APB on your big butt. Get out. That's how it works. Everybody across the country understands whether you get pulled over or anything else, it can sometimes be because of a very minor infraction. I wasn't out there looking for Barry the bank robbery, but Barry the bank robber was driving a car that had a expired tag. Hey, got to pull over. Can you get? You're that dude I got the APB on. You got to get out. Very simple. We've all watched television. We all watch Cops. And they're trying to make sure you don't use your memory. Well, they're not looking for the worst of the worst. Law enforcement. You want them to look the other way if even that's a crime. But it's not one of the worst of the worst. If they jump the bridge, that's okay because they're not one of the worst of the worst. Well, what do you do, Hakeem? And this is what Dana should have asked him. Hakeem, if the person isn't a mother groper, hasn't done anything like that, but gets pulled over for speeding and happens to be not from here, what exactly do you want to see happen at that moment? We need to get them to start saying that. When they start leaning on this whole crutch of not the worst of the worst, what do you do when you find one of these 10 million people and they're, beating up their wife or something? Didn't pay for their grocery. What do you do when they're not the worst of the worst? They want you to look the other way.
Targeting American citizens and law-abiding immigrant families. And of course that needs to end. That is not an...
Law-abiding immigrant families. Wait. You understand the original sin, right? The original sin that they committed is a crime. Democrats don't want to recognize that as being a crime. Dana Bash, even she knows it. Look at her face. At this point, the media realizes they're spitting into the wind and they've got nothing. And these people that they bring on their shows, it's even worse. And now CNN knows that they've been sold and somebody else is about to control them. And you got to look, that's the face you got to look at when the Democrats come on your show and vomit. Because they're not even prepared to ask the right questions. If I was sitting where she was, and I would have said, okay, and I would have just asked him that question. I understand what you're saying, Mr. Jeffries. Mr. Jeffries, what do you do when you find somebody who's done this, but they're not a mother groper? Very simple question. These people on television, unless it's written on a teleprompter, they don't even know what to ask. They just need to get through the interview. I think I've got 12 minutes with Hakeem. I've got the questions in front of me that you want me to ask. Don't deviate. Just let him talk. Thank you for showing up today. And they wonder why their ratings are in the toilet.
Free use of taxpayer dollars.
Taxpayer dollars, taxpayer dollars, taxpayer dollars. That's all they got. And they're going to keep doing it, but it's not working anymore. And all these polls are starting to come out now and show them that this stuff just isn't working anymore. Real quick, let me tell you, do I have it here? Yes, I do have it in front of me. I want to show you guys. Hold on, I got to click the button here. And there it is. It pops up on the screen. And then when it pops up on the screen, it's like it puts it in the basket. Yeah, I have to do that. All right. So, want to tell you about the Trump red knife. President Trump, as you know, I believe, is doing an amazing job in office. And it seems right now it's only going to get better from here. And as a celebration, Patriot Addict is back, sending the Fanfare family free Trump red knives. You can say it, free Trump red knives to people who vote and support President Trump. Just scan the QR code on that side right there to get yours right now. It's free. Really, it's free. It's just their way of saying thank you for supporting him and being a part of this moment in history. Normally, this knife retails for $70. It's as I've shown before, without cutting myself, it's a pretty big knife. As you can see, it's very sharp, very, very, very sharp. It's got a window breaker if you get stuck inside. It's got a seat belt cutter on the very top there. It's balanced pretty well. People have already got this. Normally, like I said, normally this knife retails for like $70. But, it's also got a quick action thing that you can pull it out. But right now, instead of paying $70, you can grab it just for the cost of shipping. Just scan the QR code right there to apply your 100% off coupon and claim your Trump red knife today before they're all gone. It's free. I think the shipping's like $12 or $14 and you get the knife. Be back in 90 seconds.
Welcome back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
What's up? I think I'll take a couple of comments before I continue. It says, so many Patriots comments are hilarious. I love the Hakeem Jeffries Frankentard comments. I haven't even seen those. Never vote Republican. Give it to the Dems and you'll be crying. Exactly. Costco in Washington State has New York Strip at $19. Very nice. Very nice. Oh gosh, man. Some of the, I see what SB is up against. Some guy, Cat and Zero, need to bounce him out of here. My gosh. Looking over here, sometimes I have to look at these trolls and go, they're nuts. Absolutely nuts. Why would you come someplace knowing full well you're about to get swatted like a bug? Oh gosh. Let's just move on.
Mr. Homan, thank you so much for being here. You did meet with a group of centrist Senate Democrats on Friday to try to strike a deal to reopen DHS. Republican senators say the administration has added to the latest offer. What exactly is the White House offering Democrats right now on potential new policy changes for ICE and CPB to end this impasse?
I don't think it's really significant policy changes. I mean, I'm invited there just to explain operations and how we conduct business within ICE and CBP. But
that's embarrassing. What changes are you guys making? What are you offering the Democrats? Nothing. There's nothing to offer them. At this point, Tom Homan, his job is to head up the incursion, whatever they're bringing in, into the airports. They've already, this happened a while ago, right? I just want to make sure oh God, I said right. This happened a while ago. There is no way you could have mobilized this to go into these airports to make sure they understood what they were going to be doing. If they didn't already know, probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, we're going to take the airports. Make sure you grasp that by the time this man shows up tomorrow, wherever he shows up, which should be fun, understand they've already got a game plan. So that game plan had to have been put in place. And by having put it in place, now they're just going to execute on it.
I truly believe this isn't really a policy issue. I mean, we have the same policies in place we had during Obama and Biden and Clinton and Bush 1 and Bush 2. So the policies really hasn't changed. It's the execution of those policies that we're talking about. And look, we're having good conversations, but more conversations need to be had, because we certainly can't surrender ICE's authorities and their congressionally mandated jobs. So we're having those discussions. It's really about policy execution more than policy.
Well, but as you know, they want it to be codified, things like agents wearing masks, the ability or the requirement to say who they are, and...
She can't. She knows it's so absurd on its face. She can't figure out how to say it. It's dead in the water. It's not going anywhere. These people are going to show up at the airports. They're going to clean them up. They're going to work with TSA. The lines are going to move much faster. A lot of people aren't going to show up at the airport. We're okay with that. This really shouldn't even be that big of a news issue. We're just going to secure the airports. Thank you. End of story. Why do we care if certain people are intimidated? Even the left can't be intimidated. How do I know that? Because a bunch of them just went to Cuba. What do you think the airports in Cuba look like? And so all these code pink libnut idiots that went down to Havana, yet they're going to cry over here because of something you're going to see more of in Havana. Make it make sense.
Things of that nature. So you're saying that the White House is not open to changing any of that?
No. I'm saying the majority of it is about policy execution. We're talking about, as you see on the letter that was out the other night, we're talking about identification, badge number, name, either or, because Border Patrol has the name on their uniform. ICE doesn't have a name on uniforms. We're talking about clear identification. We're talking about, access to detention and things like that. So,
if you're in an airport, like most of us have been, and you see a law enforcement officer, whether it's a sheriff, a police officer, an ICE agent, what's different? Right now, even with nobody at the airport, no TSA or few TSA, there's cops there. I mean, it's not as though all of a sudden we're just showing up with these guys and women who are ICE agents. No, there's already law enforcement there. What's the big deal about having their badge numbers and their IDs and everything? It's because there's only one reason why that would bother you. Only one reason you need that. And that is to dox these people. Because every single cop, sheriff at the airport right now, there's a badge, there's a number. But for the ICE people, it's more important. We really need to know who these people are. Well, I can tell you, going through an airport, there's not been a single time in my life where I've said, what's your badge number, officer? I know you're going to be checking my ID and looking through my stuff. What's your badge number? No, I don't care. I don't care. You don't care. Why do they care so much?
A lot of these things, as I explained to the senators, a lot of these things are already in play. And, identification has been ever since Minneapolis. And I'm trying to explain that the situation on the ground isn't the same as it was in Minneapolis. We're doing target enforcement operations, and the detention standards are the same they were in the last administration, but there was a problem with access to detention standards that problem doesn't exist anymore. So a lot of the changes after Minneapolis has already been implemented, and that's what I'm there to explain to them.
I want to ask about one other thing. During his confirmation hearing, Senator Mark Wayne Mullen indicated that as Secretary of DHS, he would require ICE to use judicial warrants over administrative warrants, which is another thing the Democrats want. This is, of course, to enter homes or businesses. I know you've pushed back on that idea in recent months. Would you support a Secretary Mullen on that?
Well, I'm not going to get ahead of the Secretary. I mean, I know what he said during the hearing, and I don't think ICE is going into homes without some sort of judicial warrant. There are certain aspects of the law that I'm trying to explain to members of senators what allows us access and not access. You don't need to enter house. You don't need a judicial warrant to enter a house if it's in hot pursuit, or if it's destruction of evidence, or there's significant safety threat. So there's a lot of caveats to that, and that's what we're talking about in these meetings.
So, all right, so this guy knows the law. President Trump put him in charge, said, go ahead and do this, get the ICE agents out there. And all you're hearing from Dana Bash and anybody else in the media is, what kind of hurdles can we put in the way? I.e., what they're all saying. Every single one of them is, how can we slow down President Trump, i.e. Tom Homan, Mark Wayne Mullen? What can we do so that they can't arrest as many newcomers? That's the gist of this entire conversation. It makes absolutely no sense why a news network that would be in America would be trying to defend every single possible roadblock you can put in the way just to slow things down before you arrest one of these people. None of us are worried about it. Not a single. I don't think any of us are worried about any of this. You do something bad, don't go where the cops are. That makes it so much easier. You know what? If you did something or you're not supposed to be here, just don't go to the airport. Game over. Why are you trying to find different ideologies and laws and administrative crap just so people don't get arrested? I don't know if they listen to themselves, because the rest of us can sit back and go, I don't understand what the problem is here.
Exactly, the law says, and what are our options within that law. So, I'm going to have the secretary. Hopefully he'll get his vote this week.
Okay. You would be open to changing, to making it more clear that in run-of-the-mill situations, not in hot pursuit, that
What's a run-in-the-mill situation of somebody who's not supposed to be in the country? What's a run-of-the-mill situation for a bank robber? What's a run-of-the-mill situation for someone who beats their wives? What the heck is the difference? Understand, as you're hearing this, they're trying to make excuses why these people should not be arrested. And it doesn't make any, well, I guess we have to make it make sense. These are their voters. They have to do it. They have to stop Trump. I keep saying that because I want you guys to see that this doesn't make any sense at all. The world is on fire in the Middle East. Cuba hasn't had any power. They're done. And we're wasting time on a news network wondering what ICE... You notice what she didn't say? She didn't say, which would be a great question, Mr. Homan, how do you anticipate the wait times to drop? Question every American would love to know. How do you expect that? Great. And how are they going to do that to get the times lower? Cool. I got the answer to that. Why the hell do I care if there's a warrant or not a warrant from somebody who's not supposed to be in the country at an airport? That's not what the people in line waiting 3.5 hours care about. How much better is it going to be? How long is it going to take to get that much better? Nope, no questions on that. What specifically are you going to do to help the TSA agents move things along? Nope, no questions on that. Which airports are the worst where you're going to surge most? No questions on that. The questions that Americans care for, she's not asking. He would tell her. So tomorrow's Monday. Which airports you guys put as your focus? Boston, LaGuardia, New Orleans, Los Angeles? Which airports? How are you going to affect the change? This is how you can tell when you're listening and watching this stuff that they're completely terrified about illegals. Because she hasn't said a single word about how Americans' lives are going to be better. That's your big indicator.
Judicial warrant is needed?
Again, I'm not going to get ahead of these discussions. That's a part of the negotiation, and I'll just leave it at that. It's give and take, and we'll continue to have those conversations, but we'll see where it goes. We're having this conversation. I'm explaining how we do things, and we'll see where it lands.
President Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "If the radical left Democrats don't immediately sign an agreement to let our country, in particular our airports, be free and safe again, I will move our brilliant and patriotic ICE agents to the airports where they will do security like no one has ever seen before." Now, in a subsequent post, he said that he instructed ICE agents to be ready by Monday. And now the president is saying that you, sir, are going to be in charge. How is that going to work? Are ICE agents going to move into American airports starting tomorrow, Monday?
Yes.
Okay, you gotta let this one simmer. The president of the United States posts something on True Social and says, "I'm not gonna let this happen," and then he follows it up with, "We're gonna do this on Monday." And she asked, and Annie says, "And this dude's gonna be in charge. Is it really happening?" No, he lied. He was having fun with the media down in Mar-a-Lago. He said to everybody, "Watch this. I'm going to make these people jump through hoops here." Are you serious? You thought the guy was bluffing? Is that really going to happen? Yes. Love it.
And I'm currently working on the plan now of execution, working with the director of ICE and the administrator at TSA, the acting administrator. So we'll put together a plan today, and we'll execute tomorrow.
Anybody believe that? Anybody believe that just putting together a plan today? Anybody think that Tom Homan, who he is, who he works for, just all of a sudden is going to put together a plan today and execute it tomorrow? No, there's been a plan put in place.
Okay, so there are a lot of questions here. First of all, are ICE agents even remotely trained to handle security at airports?
But have you flown lately? Have you gone through an airport anytime in the last year? When you see Sharon and Stefan sitting there going through your bags, what kind of training do they have? I mean, look at the people who work for TSA. When they're picking up like napkins and stuff and looking at stuff, what training do you think that they have that it's so exhaustive that an ICE law enforcement agent doesn't have the capability to do? Hey, let me look in your bags. Yeah, here. Let me pat down. Let me grab your nuts. Let me just grab something here. Pat, pat, pat. Yeah, go through the machine. Wave. What are the special skills that these geniuses must have that the ICE agents don't have? You know, the ICE agents who deal with criminals all the time. I feel like I'm watching a movie. You all been through the airport. You sat there and go, "Oh gosh, supervisor, line 2 here. Like, come on, supervisor. The machine ain't working. I'm making a joke, but tell me how far off that joke is." Hold on. Let me look. Don't be going over there. Put your shoes back on. Take your shoes off. Turn around. Jump upside down. The immense training of our TSA people, huh?
Agents receive a high level of training. And, the ICE agents are assigned at many airports across the country already. They do a lot of criminal investigation on smuggling at airports. But, there's got TSA agents covering exits, people that enter through the exits. Certainly a highly trained ICE law enforcement officer can cover an exit, makes people...
Oh, it had to be embarrassing. He's laughing at you. I'm pretty sure an ICE agent can watch an exit. I don't think you need some highly... hey, listen, don't let anybody come out this door. Gotcha, boss. Don't let anybody walk onto the runway. Gotcha. Make sure nobody brings a gun on the airplane. Gotcha. Make sure there's less than 1 ounce of liquid in their bags. I could be I'm not ICE agent, a TSA agent. I'm pretty sure many of you could be He laughed at her.
People don't go through those exits, entering the airport through the exits, and that stuff like that relieves that TSA officer to go to screening and to reduce those lines. So wherever we can provide extra security, I don't see an ICE agent looking at an X-ray machine because they're not trained in that. There are certain parts of security that TSA is doing, and we can move them off those jobs and put them in the specialized jobs, help move those lines.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. So what you're saying is when you move ICE into airports, they are going to be just around the exits and the exteriors. They're not going to be helping people get through the line.
That's not what he said at all. I just listened to the same thing you said, and then she tried to reduce it. So all they're going to be doing is standing at exit signs, right? No, that's not what he said. In fact, just like President Trump, he's probably not going to tell you everything they're going to be doing. Wait until they run someone's driver's license and find out, hey. And why are you so worried about it?
It's in screening people's bags.
Those discussions are going on now. I'm not expert at TSA, so that's why I'm talking to the TSA administrator and the ICE director, find out where we can fit in. We'll have a plan by the end of today where we're sending what airports we're starting with and where we're sending them. But that's a discussion we're having right now. I ended the discussion to do the show, and I'll be back having those discussions when I finish. So it's a work in progress, but we will be at the airports tomorrow helping TSA move those lines along.
And I know you said it's a work in progress, but at least at the beginning, are there specific airports that you're thinking about starting with? And
good question. This is a question Americans would like to know. Thank you, Dana. You're on point here. What airports?
How many ICE agents are you considering deploying to do this?
Again, that's going based on the discussions we're having today. I think we need to, my opinion is that we concentrate on the airports where the longest waits are. We prioritize those. The large airports where there's a long wait, like 3 hours. I think we got to prioritize what we do like we do everything else. So again, having those discussions, continued discussions after the show with the leadership of those agencies will lead us to some decisions based on prioritization, where we deploy, how quick we deploy, how many agents we deploy. So. Right. Hopefully we'll have all those answers here by this afternoon, but we're working on it. And when we deploy tomorrow, we'll have a well thought out plan to execute.
With respect, if
you're oh, she's choking on it. Oh my gosh.
Doing this in 24 hours, how well thought out could it possibly be?
Again, ICE has been at airports across the country for a long time. It's just expanding those things. Look, how much of a plan does it mean to guard an exit to make sure no one comes through that exit? We're talking about security options, and these officers are well trained in security.
You know, one of the things that's kind of concerned me as I heard him talking when I clipped this was, are you telling me that there are doors that lead to sensitive areas that are currently unguarded? Or had they had to take people away from screening positions to put them to stand in front of doors that people aren't supposed to go through? See, I'm wondering at this point how bad the lapse of security has been. I mean, we've seen the lines. We don't have them down here, by the way. I don't understand how certain cities are so bad. It's not affecting Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Definitely not affecting West Palm Beach. So I don't understand why we're seeing things in, Boston, New York. Oh, yeah, maybe I do. Maybe it's been on purpose.
And they're well trained in identification. And we're going to do what we can to help TSA move those people through the line.
And last question on this, because this is important, and I realize that this is clearly a plane that you're creating while it's in the air here, but this is a question that a lot of people are asking. Is it just going to be crowd control, or will ICE officers also be doing immigration enforcement while they are?
All right, like I told you, If I went down to a Dolphins game, the guys standing there, they may be doing parking. Hey, come over here, go over here. Okay. They may be checking the front gate with the dogs. They may be watching cash handling to make sure nobody jumps over the concession stand. They may be in a myriad of different positions, making sure people don't go onto the F1 track. But every single one of them is a sworn law enforcement officer. And so the stupidity of her question is, I guess the answer to that stupid question is anything and everything. You're not going to have any law enforcement officers that, oh, somebody just ran into the runway. Somebody better go get them. I don't know nothing about that. That's not my job. Said no law enforcement ever, including ICE. If there's a crime, okay, you're sitting there and something comes over the radio. Yeah, well, some guy just jumped the turnstile at gate 5, and it looks like he had a suspicious package. Sucks for you guys, got to run all over there. No, they're going to go where the thing is. It's like she's never talked to any law enforcement ever. Anybody here in law enforcement knows the call comes over the radio, and you're going to, unless you're at a secure position where you can't leave, you're going to help. And so it doesn't make any sense what they're worried about.
At the airports.
We do immigration enforcement at airports all the time. So is that going to change? It's not going to change. This is about helping the men and women of TSA. They've lost several hundred employees. The lines are really slow because of the shutdown. This is about going to helping TSA do their mission and get the American public through that airport as quick as they can. Well, while adhering to all the security guidelines and the protocols, we're simply there to help TSA do their job in areas that don't need their specialized expertise, such as, screening through the X-ray machine. Not training that, we won't do that. But there are roles we can play to release TSA officers from the non-significant roles, such as guarding an exit, so they can get back to the scanning machines and move people quicker. And we're just simply helping our fellow officers at TSA.
So what I think they're afraid of, and probably they should be, is it sounds to me what Tom Homan is saying is that they're going to make a massive presence. Just being there, again, I'll use my Miami Dolphins analogy. If I was a bad guy and I was walking into the venue and I saw the bomb-sniffing dog, I'm probably thinking, that's not going to work today. Let me turn around. Nah, get back out of here. Just being there. I'm telling you, watch Tuesday or Wednesday and see how the airport flows. Just their presence there. They don't really even have to do much. And I bet you we'll see a 10 to 20% drop. Because I also think that they know how many people are traveling who aren't supposed to be traveling. How many times somebody comes up and puts an ID that, doesn't get flagged the right way? Who knows? Maybe their big issue is they're going to go in and begin tweaking the software so that if, Pedro puts his ID in, a flag comes up, and then she could wave somebody over. Step aside, sir. Tom's coming to see you. We don't know what they're going to do. She doesn't know what they're going to do. And they're wigging out because they're not being told, where the presence alone could deter so much of this crap. All right, let's move on.
Mr. President, are you deploying the additional troops to the region for deterrence or to optimize your operational capabilities?
Well, I would say this, that if I told you the answer to that question, my military people would be very happy. But we have a lot of troops. We have unlimited ammunition. We have the greatest equipment in the world. And we are decimating Iran.
Back here at home, the economic fallout is intensifying. The stock market down 4 straight weeks, and gas prices up nearly $1 a gallon since the war began. The administration now moving to ease some oil sanctions on Iran and earlier on Russia in an effort to bring prices down. All of this as the Pentagon prepares to ask Congress for an additional $200 billion to fund the war.
As far as $200 billion, I think that number could move, obviously. It takes money to kill bad guys.
It's our responsibility right now to end this reckless war of choice, to end the fact that billions of dollars have already been spent, perhaps up to $2 billion a day to drop bombs in the Middle East.
We want to be sure, and it's a small price to pay to make sure that we stay tippy-top.
Tippy-top. I love when he says tippy-top. Hey, Hakeem, did it bother you when you were sending all this money to Ukraine? Nobody asked him the question. You're sending billions and billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine. How about the 40 million or so you still keep sending to the, Taliban? How about that? How about the fact that so much fraud has happened in some of these blue cities and is still happening? Nope. We just got to stop them from doing anything to these people over here. Why? Because we don't want Trump to succeed. We don't want the Don Roe doctrine to be put into effect. Scott Bessent, who is becoming one of my favorites along with Howard Lutnick, sat down with Christian Welker, and she thought, I don't know why these people think they're going to catch these guys. He's way too good for her.
And joining me now is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Secretary Bessent, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Kristen, good morning.
Good morning. Good to have you back. I want to start with the latest of what we're hearing from President Trump. Let me read you what he posted overnight. He says, if Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours, from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. Has the president changed his mind about winding down the war, as he said a day earlier, and instead plans to escalate?
You just read what he said. You literally read the words that the president of the United States put out, and you act like you don't get it. I'm going to obliterate Iran. I'm going to destroy them in about 48 hours. Is he escalating? Well, what the hell would you call it?
I think he said he could wind the war down at any time he wants. And, Kristen, this is the only language the Iranians understand.
But this seems to be an escalation, a threat of escalation, and it seems to run counter to his statement that he, in fact, wants to wind down the war.
I do want to wind down the war. I want to obliterate my opponent. If I can punch my opponent crazy, punch them stupid, if I can blow up all their stuff, that's winding down. It's over. But if I let them recover and get back on their feet, then I haven't completed the job. I sometimes just wonder, do these libtard people not understand the rules of engagement? It's not to just stop you, it's to take you out.
Kristen, the president's been very clear from the beginning that the goals are destroy the Iranian Air Force and the Navy, to completely demolish their missile capabilities, demolish their ability to replenish those capabilities, make sure the Iranians cannot have a nuclear weapon, and stop their ability to project power internationally, and the president will take whatever steps it takes to achieve those goals.
Well, I was on the phone with President Trump a week ago. He told me allies were on the way to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. Has the Trump administration abandoned that strategy and now chosen to go it alone?
Earlier, I showed you Mark Rutte from NATO. Yesterday, I showed you that Saudi Arabia and 22 other countries have signed on. This was broadcast this morning. She didn't even do the homework from last night before she asked us questions. You're just going to do it alone? Like, lady, didn't you just see what the other country said? Didn't you see what Japan and Saudi Arabia and all these other, did you not know this before you asked the Treasury Secretary this?
Again, what we have done, there has been a campaign to using military assets to soften up the Iranian fortifications along the strait. That's going to continue until they are completely demolished. And Kristen, let me tell you, whether it's this network or the mainstream press, the American people do not have good framing what is going on here. If you were to read what is happening, and I'm sure when Senator Murphy is on, he has come out and said we are losing the war. That is wrong. We have demolished the Iranian capabilities. Their Air Force is completely destroyed, Navy destroyed, and every day we are taking out their missiles, their missile systems, and the factories that build those missiles. And now the General Kane, Secretary Hegseth are leading a campaign to destroy all the fortifications along the Straits of Hormuz.
Just to put a fine point on this, though, is the president in the process of winding down this war or escalating the conflict?
Again, they're not mutually exclusive.
This guy talks very definitively. I loved his slogan that he said yesterday during the Maria Bartiromo interview, where he said, economic security is national security. And Christian, again, with the gotcha questions, well, is he going to wind it down or not? It's over when it's over. That's the answer to the question. It's over when it's over. It's not going to be forever. It's not going to be months and months and months, but it's over when it's over. When the bad guys are done fighting, when the bad guys wave the white flag, or if there's no bad guys to wave the white flag, then it's over. They're trying to trap these people. Give me a date so we can call you a liar.
Sometimes you have to escalate to de-escalate, Kristen.
Okay. NBC News is reporting that President Trump is considering sending troops into Iran. Will the administration use troops to secure the Strait of Hormuz or for any other reason, Mr. Secretary?
Again, as President Trump said during the press break yesterday when he was going out to Marine One, he's not going to give away what we're going to do. As President Trump always does, he's leaving all options on the table. We had a very successful bombing campaign against the military installations at Karg Island, the nexus for all the Iranian oil supply. What could happen with Karg Island, we'll see. And again, just to be clear, the command and control system of the Iranian regime is in chaos. This is Hitler's bunker. Hitler's dead. Himmler is dead. Goring is dead. Most of what you're seeing are lone wolf activities. The mid-range ICBM that was shot off, these two missiles yesterday, that's out of desperation, Kristen.
See, he gave a little news there this morning. Something that many of us had thought. I don't know what that was. He basically just confirmed that ICBM, the missile that they sent to Diego Garcia, was a lone wolf. How would they know that? See, none of the leaders have dared put their face on camera, which is why you see Trump on camera, is why you see Netanyahu on camera. They're all out there. They're saying, here we are. We're live. Who are we even talking to? Who is it that you think is running that country right now? Not a question that Christian Welker's asking. I want to know who the leader is. Show me your leader. Because now he just said, which means they probably have good reason to say it, is it was just somebody thinking it's time to fire this. Nobody's telling me. I just think I should hit the button. And so there's going to be a lot more of those because these people were probably stationed someplace and they can't get a hold of anybody.
You bring up Karg Island. I want to ask you about your statement. You said it could become a U.S. asset. What exactly does that mean? Could U.S. troops go into Karg Island to secure it?
Again, as I said, all options are on the table.
And that's all you need to know. You don't have the security clearance. I am not going to tell you, or the enemy, what we are going to do. And in fact, I would have a completely different question once again if I were her. My question would be, when are you taking it? That's the question we all want to know. It's probably a foregone conclusion. When are you taking control of Cargo Island, whatever it's called? When are you doing it? Carg Island. That's the question. It's not, are you going to put boots on the ground? I understand the boots are already there. When you see the warthog roll out, you know stuff's about to get serious. But they don't even want to talk about the real question. Say, hey, when are you going to do it? Nobody's stopping us. It's just a matter of time. But I love how he said it. All options are still on the table. Love it.
Okay, so that's a possibility.
All options are on the table.
All right.
And he said it twice. So let's go back to last night. President Trump issues the ultimatum. You got 48 hours. Scott Bessent comes on television. Are you going to do this? Are you going to do that? Can't tell you. All options are on the table. So what does that tell you? As you're sitting in your home right now watching me, thank you, and you hear him, which is really weird, is because this guy is the Secretary of the Treasury. He's not Pete Hegseth. And he's answering wartime questions, which is crazy. You didn't hear Janet Yellen saying this stuff because she didn't know it had from hole in the ground. And he's like, hey, all options are on the table. So they know the clock is running. They understand we are in final countdown stage for whatever's going to happen over the next day or two. And he ain't. See, that would scare me more than if he had answered. That scares me more than if he had said, oh, we're negotiating. Everything and anything might be coming. And so if I was sitting in a hole someplace in Iran and somehow I had to, was able to dial in this interview and I heard him just say that, I'd be like, oh, man, they're coming, aren't they? Oh, yeah, they're coming hard.
Let me talk about your announcement this past week. On Friday, the Treasury Department lifted sanctions on Iranian oil stored on tankers, a move that would effectively allow Iran to get more than $14 billion of oil revenue.
Yeah. All right, so now I'm convinced. Hey, go in, get your hair done, go to makeup, go to wardrobe, and we'll have these documents in front of you because just read the questions we're asking, even though you look stupid. He's about to score. It looks like Iran's going to get like $1 gazillion. We covered this yesterday. We talked about this yesterday, and this is the question she's asking. So at this point, just go get dolled up, put your eyelashes on, look, oh yeah, they look pretty. Get your hair done, put on a suit and everything, and we'll have your questions and your teleprompter just waiting for you to look stupid. So it looks like Iran's going to get paid big time, right?
Well, hold on. Why is the U.S. helping to fund a country that it's currently at war with, Mr. Secretary?
Again, Kristen, why don't we have good facts here? That Iranian oil was always going to be sold to the Chinese. It was going to be sold at a discount. So which is better, Kristen? Which is better? If oil prices spiked to $150 and they were getting 70% of that, or oil prices below 100, it's better to have them where they are now. And to be clear, we had always planned for this contingency. About 140 million barrels are out on the water. In essence, we are jujitsuing the Iranians. We're using their own oil against them. We have a much better line of sight, to be clear, at Treasury when this oil goes to, if it goes to Indonesia, if it goes to Japan, if it goes to Korea, we have a much better line of sight and are able to block accounts that the oil goes into. When it goes into China, it completely gets recycled. So to be clear, that 14 billion number is grossly overstated.
Let me unpack what you're just saying. First of all, how much is it? And second of all, I don't hear you disputing that Iran will get some of the money.
Iran already gets a huge amount of the money because Iran is the largest sponsor of state terrorism, and China has been funding them.
So it's always part of the plan to unsanction Iranian oil?
Again, we unsanctioned the Russia. At Treasury, we plan for all contingencies. We have break the glass plans, and to be able, this oil is floating out in Asia, and it is mostly our Asian allies. The U.S. gets virtually no oil from the Gulf. We are energy sufficient. So when we unsanction this, rather than the oil going to China, it can go to Japan, it can go to Korea, it can go to Indonesia, it can go to Malaysia.
She doesn't get it. And whoever wrote up the question doesn't get it. In essence, what he's saying is we control it. We're going to decide where it goes. And if it goes into the wrong hands, we're going to seize the money. And she's not understanding. It's way over her head. He's trying to tell her, we are in control of it. Wake up, sweetie.
It can go to Iran, too. I mean, isn't the point that the sanctions were in place to prevent Iran from getting any of the money? They will have access to some of the money now.
Again, Kristen, you're missing the point. So please listen to me.
Oh, okay. How bad is it? You're on a news show, and he's like, idiot. Listen, I will tell you once again. You don't get it. It's way above your pay grade. Let me break it down for you. All right?
They were getting it from China anyway.
All right, let me talk about the real world impact of this, because you're talking about 140 million barrels of Iranian oil, and that's just a little bit more than what the world uses in one day. How much can that really change prices here
again,
at home?
Chris, terrible framing.
Well, how much can it change prices here at home? Talk to consumers. How much will it change prices here at home?
Let me explain. 140 million barrels, about 20 million barrels a day comes out of the Gulf. About 5 million has been repurposed by the Saudis, by the UAE. So we're at a 15 deficit. About 1.5 is Iranian oil that comes out. So we are at between a 10 and 14 million deficit on a daily basis. So if you think about 140 million barrels, that's between 10 days and 2 weeks of supply. And one of the reasons that prices in the U.S. of West Texas crude are below $100, and we have not seen this massive spike as we did during the beginning of Russia-Ukraine, is because we are well supplied in the market. Whether it is the Russian oil, whether it is the Iranian oil, or it is the largest SPR release in history done by a coalition of 32 countries, 400 million barrels.
All right, let's talk about the Russian oil, which you just raised. The administration.
Move on. You're getting your ass handed to you. You're not able to discuss with him. And so you got all these papers on your desk with all the questions they want you to ask him. And then you keep getting it wrong. You're not understanding. We're the boss now. That's the part she's not getting. We're the boss. And when we get the other people in there to help guard the Strait of Hormuz, what do you think is going to happen? It's pretty simple.
Did ease oil sanctions on Russia earlier this month. You had initially defended imposing those sanctions, calling Russian exports, quote, oil that funds the Russian war machine. If the point of the sanctions was to stop funding the Russian war machine, why is the administration effectively rewarding Russia now?
Again, Kristen, you're missing the point. Which is better? Does Russia get more money if oil goes to 150? And they get 70% of that, that's 105, or if oil stays below 100. So they're getting less money. Our analysis shows that the maximum extra amount that Russia could get would be $2 billion, which is 1 day of the Russian Federation's budget.
But understood, but they wouldn't have gotten any of that with the sanctions in place.
I don't know. Whoever's
would they have gotten any of that in place?
Whoever does your research, you should get rid of, because they were getting it. It was going into China.
I had to go with the double slap. Whoever does your research, get rid of them, fire them. They're stupid. They're making you look stupid. Oh my gosh. This Trump administration takes no prisoners. Just us. Man.
China was buying over 90% of the Russian oil, and it was.
But what's the point of sanctions if not to punish Russia, if not to punish countries?
Again, we have no ability to do that to China. If China wants to be a bad actor. But we were substantially able to degrade their exports. Their exports have dropped about 25% when the rest of the world isn't buying it. So exports are down, but there was a lifeline into China. Now we've opened up that to everyone else.
Okay, just to be clear, though, you did defend imposing those.
Just to be clear, some time ago you said this instead of that. I rest my case. These people got nothing. They got nothing all the way up the chain. Nothing in the news, nothing with the politics. They got nothing.
Sanctions in the first place. Let me ask.
Just to be clear, it is a maximum of $2 billion. So let's have good framing on this.
Okay, let's talk about the over.
I don't think I've seen these many clapbacks against someone in the media directly to their face in a long time. Get your facts straight. Whoever's doing your stuff, you gotta know what the hell you're talking about if you're talking to me. Maybe want to talk to Swalwell or Hakeem Jeffries. You can get away with this stuff. It ain't happening here, honey. Wow.
All cost of this war. The administration's asking Congress poised to an additional $200 billion in additional funding for this war. Some Republicans who could cast key votes on this are expressing hesitation or outright opposition. Take a listen to them, and then I want to get your reaction on the other side.
Are there any initial red flags for you?
No, maybe it's a lot of money. I'll go through it, see what they need.
I am a no. I've already told leadership I am a no on any war supplementals. I am so tired of spending money elsewhere.
Should President Trump have gone to Congress on the front end of this war if he was going to ask for Congress's help now for more funding?
Again, President Trump was within his authorities, under the War Powers Act, to initiate this action. And we actually now we have plenty of money to fund this war. What we are doing is this is supplemental. President Trump has built up the military as he did in his first term, as he is now doing in his second term, and he wants to make sure that the military is well supplied going forward.
Would the administration ever raise taxes in order to fund this war?
Again, Kristen, the terrible framing. I think that.
It's just it's a simple question that I think a lot of people have.
It's a ridiculous question.
How many times? I'm all out of slaps. It's ridiculous. You're not even framing the question right. Oh my gosh. I've never seen someone in the media get slapped down this many times in the course of like a 10, 12-minute interview. My goodness.
Well, what can you answer it?
Why would we do that? That we have plenty. We have $1 trillion in this year's budget for the military, and President Trump, even before the conflict started, had said that he would like to further build out the military.
So just is raising taxes under consideration at all? If you're saying you have plenty of money.
Not at all.
Okay, now you got your answer. No, we're not raising taxes. We got tariffs, and we're going to figure a way around that. We got other countries putting massive investment here. These people hate America. Why can't we understand that as a people at this point and go, yeah, they're never going to win November, but no, we keep being told we're going to lose.
Okay, let's turn to how all of this is impacting consumers. United Airlines CEO Scott Kirby is now planning, he says, to cut flights and is planning for oil to go as high as $175 a barrel, with prices potentially staying above $100 a barrel through 2027. This is according to him. All of this could potentially mean higher prices for consumers. What do you say to Americans who feel they were promised lower costs and now they're getting the opposite?
Kristen, I think the American people understand that in any 50, I'm not going to put a time on it, but let's just pick 50 days of temporary elevated prices. Prices will come off on the other side for 50 years of not having an Iranian regime with a nuclear weapon. The American people, are beginning to understand, thanks to President Trump, that there is no prosperity without security.
I heard you say 50 days. Are you saying that prices could start to come down?
No.
What's the time frame?
I was just picking a point. I don't know whether it's going to be 30 days. I don't know whether it's going to be 50 days. I don't know whether it's going to be 100 days. But to have 50 years of peace in the Middle East and know that the Iranian regime is defanged, because, Kristen, what we had before was the illusion of security. Imagine this regime, if they had had another year or 2 years to build out their missile capabilities, they would have built a shield around themselves, and it would have been impossible to prevent them from getting a nuclear weapon.
All right. I want to ask you on a different topic about a post by President Trump from yesterday responding to the death of former special counsel Robert Mueller.
Seriously? You're asking the Secretary of the Treasury what he thinks about President Trump taking a strong stance against Robert Mueller. And I'm just going to tell you in advance, what Scott Bessent says here is what we talked about last night. What you people tried to do to President Trump, what Robert Mueller and his whole gang were doing to President Trump, I think he was being light. I think what he said was restrained. Because every single one of us knows if somebody was doing that to me and my family and my friends and my businesses and trying to do stuff with my properties, what the heck would you say to go? Tell her, Scott.
He posted this quote, Robert Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. Do you think it's appropriate for the President of the United States to celebrate the death of an American citizen, someone who's a Bronze Star, Purple Heart recipient and who served in Vietnam?
Kristen, I was with the President in the green room at Davos, and there was a video playing of what may have been an illegal raid on his home at Mar-a-Lago. They are going through his wife's wardrobe, and I watched the look in his eye, and I think that neither one of us can understand what has been done to the president and to his family.
That one statement that he said, that I said yesterday, and I continue to try to remind you, when everything that happened at Mar-a-Lago, you guys watched the Melania movie with me, how it traumatized Barron to the point where Barron is so concerned about safety and what's going to happen. We'll almost watch his dad get killed on national television on July 13th, watching another guy snake up against a golf course and want to take a shot at him. And those are the ones we know of. Those are just the assassinations that have been made public. And then you saw them go from state to state in indictment and indictment, doing everything they possibly could to take him down. They got the E. Jean Carroll insanity where they tried to get $85 million because she said he had, the dirty deed with her in some dressing room that she can't even remember. On top of the two impeachments, on top of Letitia James saying his property was only worth $18 million, then you go back to everything that Robert Mueller did, and I think he has not one F left to give. I think that's what we're seeing in his post. And so if you haven't walked in this man's shoes and all those things that I just quickly mentioned, and remember that, and now you see the reaction he is actually having. And Scott says, I was sitting with him. I saw the look on his face. None of us have seen that look. These sons of bitches. Look what they did. And you think, anybody who thinks this man is not ready to strike back like a cobra, not just to win an election, but to obliterate these people. I mean, to just do anything possible to make these people understand what's they're responsible for doing it, and you're going to have to somehow pay for what you did. I think it's all coming. I think it has to come. Just because it hasn't doesn't mean people should be trying to run away from him. They should be realizing he remembers all this. He just told you. I was sitting in a meeting with him and I saw the look on his face. I was like, damn.
But to the question of the president's post, I mean, Robert Mueller didn't order that raid. Is it appropriate for the president to celebrate the death of any American citizen,
again,
Mr. Secretary?
I think that given what has been done to President Trump and his family, it is impossible for either of us to understand what he has been through.
So you don't think that there's anything wrong with the...
You're asking the same question 4 times. I just answered you. You effed with the wrong guy. How can I make it clearer, Kristen? You're going to get the horns now. You think it's appropriate? I think he was light. I think he could have said much worse. You guys don't get it in the media. You Democrats don't get it. This man is pissed. I don't think enough people who are MAGA understand. Scott now understands. Scott, I saw his face. See, we haven't seen that. Well, like, what do he look like, Scott? He look like he's ready to raise some hell. He looks like he's ready to just take these people's faces off. So, ergo, if he's willing to take on the Democrat Party this way, what do you think he's going to do to the Ayatollahs that tried to kill him? Which never gets reported on anymore, that they were trying to assassinate him. See, a lot of people forget that part. Right now, if you didn't know, you're like, I didn't know the Iranians were trying to kill him. Uh-huh. The Iranians, they arrested one, and I guess he's going through a trial, but the Iranians put, all kinds of things on him that they were going to kill him. If you have never seen the movie The Godfather, and if you have, maybe you remember at the very end when Sonny goes to Connie's baptismal of her new baby. And when they go, while they're in the church, while he's doing the baptism, putting it on the baby's head, while they're doing that, he's killing all the enemies. He's whacking the heads of the 5 families, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. Today, we settle all family businesses. So don't tell me you don't know who it was, is what he said to Carlos. Yes, I've watched that movie way too many times. Don't tell me you don't know what's going on. And I'm slowly watching this man from New York, and it looks a lot like he is basically ready to whack the heads of the 5 families. Metaphorically speaking. He's not taking anybody out, except for the Ayatollahs.
Robert Mueller's
again, I think that we should all have a little empathy for what has been done to him and his family.
All right, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
You idiot. You complete idiot. Have we forgotten empathy as much as we've forgotten laughter? I mean, if I can go through without any script, without anything on a teleprompter, if I can go through it just by pure memory of all the things that have happened to him, and I probably forgot a couple. If I can go through it, imagine what he thinks. Imagine what goes through his mind. Imagine what goes through Melania's mind, his sons, as they recount everything you guys have done to me. And yet people think he's not going to get even. You're insane. You're absolutely insane. SB's got some breaking news. What do you got, SB? Hello.
Oh, yeah. I'm here. Let's see what we have here. It looks like tomorrow it's official. ICE will be deploying to at least 14 major airports around the U.S. starting tomorrow morning per Reuters. Atlanta's mayor has also confirmed this, stating that ICE will be on the ground first thing in the morning. It's go time.
Wow. Already? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Now it's been confirmed that 8:00 at night on Sunday, they're rolling it out tomorrow. What else you got? I thought I saw something else that had come out as well. Did you text me?
I think that was the major thing. Yeah, that was about it.
All right. What did I see that I wanted to tell you about? Where is it?
Mainly about the
This
ice.
one here. I'm looking at Eric Doherty. There's something that says 30 minutes ago, Cuba. It's official. Cuba's communist, Cuba's communist regime just went full panic mode, frantically preparing for military aggression incoming by the United States. Marco Rubio has been relentlessly dealing with Cuba behind the scenes. Anything could happen. Make a deal, Cuba. Trump does not screw around. Now, remember, you saw everybody fly down here. Marco Rubio's here with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago, 90 miles away from Cuba right now. So he's probably been working that angle the entire time. So there's gonna,
wow.
I can't even imagine what's getting ready to blow in the next couple of days. A lot. Thanks, SV. Let me wrap everything up. Wrap everything up.
All right.
All right, everybody. I do have one more thing, and this one more thing I want to talk to you about is the Panicans and the Black Pillars and how their influence is basically going away.
If you spend too much time on Twitter or get your news from the liberal mainstream media, you may have gotten the impression that the president's supporters are abandoning him in droves over Operation Epic Fury, his war to prevent your grandchildren from having to face off against a nuclear-armed Iran. Our hapless president has been dragged into this war against his will by the nefarious Bibi Netanyahu, according to people like Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Megyn Kelly, and now Joe Kent, a counterterrorism official who resigned this week amid an FBI investigation into his penchant for leaking government secrets to Carlson. Trump has betrayed everything he once stood for, they say, and all the young people know it. In light of their opposition to Trump, the mainstream media has been only too happy to amplify these characters.
The younger generations, I'm Gen X, millennials and Gen Z are very much against this war. And so when you talk to people on the ground, that's how it comes across. It's very generational, and the younger generations are completely against it.
Yeah, she's full of crap. She's completely full of crap, just like the rest of them. I don't talk about them much, but it's gotten to the point now where they're just openly lying. In fact, if she's on CNN, she'll tell you everything. It's crazy.
100% a betrayal to what MAGA was supposed to be.
Alas, none of that is true. The narrative that MAGA is split over Iran, beloved by the liberal media and the anti-Israel far left and right, is complete fiction. Far from a betrayal, poll after poll after poll has found massive, overwhelming support for the president's strikes on Iran.
I don't, the one that CNN put out, as you can see, 100%. No, I don't believe it's 100%. But every single poll in reference to everything that President Trump is doing, including the Save America Act, are off the charts. They don't even have any polls that are even close. Everything's 80, 90, 95, 100. They're not even close. So how can we possibly be in a position where we're going to lose the midterms? I don't even want to discuss the midterms. The midterms are 8 months away. We don't know what's going to happen 8 hours from now. I've said that so many times. You cannot foretell the future when you can't even foretell what's going to be in the next day. None of this that we're seeing happen right now and play out on a daily basis did people know about even a week ago. Yeah, the war they did, but that was on February 28th. So how can you possibly do any sort of game planning when this man is running a different playbook than any president ever? Not compared to one. Nobody has done what he's doing.
Among Republican voters, upwards of 85%. An NBC poll of voters who backed Trump in 2024 found 90% support for the war in Iran and a 100% approval rating for the president. A new poll even asked point blank who Republicans trusted more, Kelly and Carlson or the president. The results were pretty decisive: 84% for Trump, 6% for Carlson.
6% of Republicans or MAGA trust Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly more. Please, if you trust Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly more than the president, please, by all means, put that in your bio. Let us all know the idiots that you are. I respect your opinion. I just don't want to have to listen to it.
Womp womp. That's what we learned about America this week. The would-be emperors and kingmakers of the far right have no clothes. The war in Iran hasn't just taken out Iran's ballistic capabilities, it's nuked the fiction that these media personalities on the right wield any power. The podcasters, content creators, and YouTubers and Twitter personalities who claim to represent MAGA actually do nothing of the sort.
Now, I want to tell you, I am not here to say, nor will I ever say, I represent MAGA. The fact that they say that is enough to just turn the channel. You don't represent me. I'm just telling you what's going on. I give you my opinion, but the hell if I represent what MAGA is. I don't think that much of myself. These people are so full of themselves that they think they represent MAGA. And all they've done is destroy what they previously had built up. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but go look at like Megyn Kelly's numbers and you'll see she has lost 75% or so of her normal viewership. So it would take a lot of money to put my viewership on the line. It must have taken a crap load of money for her to put her viewership on the line. I don't need to sell my soul that bad. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy working with SV and Roaring Rage and Beth and Severo. I love working with Ashley on this. I love having the Fanfare family. We've built a nice community here. Why would I ever turn my back on that? It's insane.
They are influencers with no influence, not on the president nor on his followers. The podcast wars, as they've been called, have always been more a media turf war than an ideological one. Many seem to have decided that the way to try to grow their audience is to go down the same road as Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens, podcasters with big audiences whose antipathy extends beyond Israel to all Jews. But unlike on the left, our compatriots on the right have absolutely refused to buy in. Support for Israel is rising among Republicans. Even people who get their news from podcasters overwhelmingly back the president in Iran.
True. You've seen the numbers. She's not making it up. So why would people go against what appears to be a train moving fast ahead? Why would people be out there just talking crap about Trump? I don't know. Everybody on this planet is open to their own opinions. But the problem I have is so many of them sucked in so many people by pretending, obviously, to be for Trump and then completely turn their back and trash him after you spent the time bringing people into your community. Everybody talks about what they're doing to Trump. Nobody talks about what they've done to their communities. How much do you care about the people who spend their time watching and listening to you for you to turn around and basically give them the middle finger? That's insane. Absolutely insane. There must be some big pots of gold at the end of that rainbow.
It turns out people who make money off of online engagement are not the best arbiters of where the American people are at. Sure, they get millions of views online, but the internet is available globally, and our enemies are only all too eager to try to undermine us by aggressively engaging with anti-American content.
So one of the things when people talk about numbers, and there are certain people out there that love trolls because trolls give engagement. And I always told the moderators here, and which is why they've been here for so long, is I don't want just raw engagement. I don't want people just coming in saying whatever they want. I want to foster a community. It's always been my position when I started. build a community. And maybe it's because when I worked in the advertising world, I understood back then, build a community. You can't fake a community. You have to be authentic. Build your community. And in doing that, I always knew your community comes first. So you guys may not realize that. Some of you guys may think I'm Trump first. No, I'm Trump second. My community comes first. And so by doing that, you make sure you get rid of trolls. You don't want people, it's like inviting people to your house and then seeing somebody pissing on somebody's car. You don't want them. Go away. Get out. And so you have to protect your community at all cost. The other thing that these people do, and you can't see somebody else's, but I've had so many of these people ask me, Barry, where do you get these sponsors? How do you get so many partners? Is because when you have to do a media kit and you show people, here's the demographics of my audience and here's the psychographics of my audience, I can clearly say 99.5% American. And I can put the male, female. I can also say, what age group and everything else. When you're talking about the Jews all the time, you're inviting a lot of people to join in that hate who aren't even from America. So sometimes numbers can be deceiving because not all audiences are the same. In fact, that's why I don't like to talk about audiences. I like to refer to it as communities. Because we protect people that come in here, because every time somebody comes new, you see in the chat sometimes like, wow, this chat's pretty cool. You guys are all talking to me. You're engaging with me. So even if I don't get onto it, people are all talking to each other. They become a community, as I called it, the Fanfare family. But if we had a whole bunch of people from Pakistan and Uzbekistan and something stan, then it would look weird. These people don't care.
You can learn a lot more about what's really happening in America by going to church or sitting in a bar and talking to your neighbors for half an hour than you can on Twitter. Here to discuss is Ben Shapiro, the undisputed victor of the podcast wars, co-founder of the Daily Wire and host of the Ben Shapiro Show. Ben, thank you so much.
I don't know if I'd say that. I don't know if I'd say the whatever she just said, because sometimes he says some crazy stuff too. So I'm done with that. But I'm just saying, I welcome you here, and I thank you guys for continuing to show up, and it means a lot to us. Now I want to just speak. You know what? Let me do super chats first here, because I want to do something special at the end and go right into it, into that and to the, what do you call it? The after party. But I want to, let's see here. Let me do this first, and then we'll go into what I was going to tell you, because I think it's important. Let's see. Am I lined up? Nope, not lined up correctly yet. All right, Michael Cohen, thank you. Andrew, Maduro just named 60 senators taking bribes. Ooh, I'll have to check that. Louisa, every country does not want Iran to have nuclear weapons. They woke up following President Trump's lead to save their own country. Yeah, having those missiles land in Diego Garcia, big wake-up call. Megan, first concert was ELO in 1973. Yeah, I loved ELO. Definitely love them. Liz, Rancor, a negative mindset will never give you a positive life. Thank you for all you do, Barry. Yes, thank you. G.B. Fisher, chalk up another unaliving on Pritzker's and the Devon's resume. Illegal took out an 18-year-old girl at Loyola. Yes, I did see that. Sad. Hello, Tim. Only wrongdoers in the lawless fear the law and the authorities that enforcement. Exactly. There's no fear of law enforcement. Condition-based, retired HPD. Wonder which H. There's a lot of towns. Honolulu, Hartford. All kinds. Last assignment was Hobby Airport in Houston. Okay, Houston Police Department. ICE is already assigned there. Oh, and fantastic. Night Reaver, why taxpayers paying for security and air traffic for domestic and foreign traveler, privatize it with TSA overnight, charge airport airline for their salary. I don't have a problem with that. I think it should be privatized. Would do a better job. I agree. Tania, I think Dana B is a robot. Seriously, she's talking about Dana Bash. Beverly Litton, I remember you. I wonder if the paid rioters will show up at airports to protest ICE. That would be very stupid. That would be very stupid for these people to show up in a situation like that at a federal facility. Or where does it become federal? It's aviation, but I think once you're in the terminal or past a certain position, it becomes federal. That would be really dumb. Jeremiah for Kristen on NBC for a Bible. Hope this helps. So you want me to send Kristen Welker a Bible? Yes, buddy. Chiosop, if this was what he said about Mueller, wait till Schiff, Pelosi, Obama, Soros, and others involved kick the bucket. Bingo. Bingo. Hello, Neil. Thank you, Barry and team. Great show. Media are a joke, totally behind Trump. God bless and protect him. He did not forget it's FAFO. Go, Mr. President. I agree. Chiosop again. True maggot knows what the alternative would mean. Edward. Barry thought I was watching 1970 show laughing during the interview with Scott Bessent and Kristen Welker. It seemed like it. Oh my goodness. Buddy Sanders unsubscribed from Megyn Kelly when she supported no pets in my house. Did she go there too? Did she buy into the Islamic dog thing? Oh gosh. Christine Mozart, we love you, Barry. I'm almost done reading the Bible you sent me. Covered. Wow. You go. Wow. That's amazing. The Maduro thing is not true. Thank you, Cutting Edge. All right, so I just want to remind you, since we are about 24 hours left in this position that we're in, and I just want to show you, here's what he said yesterday. If Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. That was, as you see, 7:44 last night. 7:44 tonight would be 24 hours, which means 7:44 tomorrow, and it might indeed be lights out. It could be. And then he posted this today. Yeah, today at 8:24 a.m. Interesting. Now with the death of Iran, the greatest enemy America has is the radical left, highly incompetent Democrat Party. Thank you for your attention to this matter. I didn't see many people talking about this. I didn't see many people in the news, as I showed you a couple of people today, Dana Bash and Christian Welker, and I didn't see anybody talking about this. This post, even more so than the one last night, because this is domestic. This one should have put shiver in the timbers. Iran is done. The death of Iran. Now I need to focus on the greatest enemy America has. Let that sink in. Let that sink in that the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, just said the greatest enemy America has is the radical left, highly incompetent Democrat Party. Damn. Not a lot of people saw that. Not a lot of people talked about it. And I went, oh my gosh. He's like, I'm going to finish these people off. They're done. They're good as dead. Now I got to look at my next enemy, but the biggest enemy. That's freaking huge. Absolutely huge. And so since we are basically exactly at this point, 24 hours out, I believe we are indeed in the final countdown.